Public hearings on land expropriation without compensation are drawing to a close. The chairperson of Parliament's Review Committee on Land, Vincent Smith, has lashed out at political parties scripting arguments during proceedings.
Well, Smith says this is a fruitless exercise that lengthens the process unnecessarily. He joins us now on Morning News today to tell us more about how he feels. Vincent, good morning, and thanks for your time this morning. And just looking at what you've had to say, we've mentioned some of that, saying, do you believe, let's just get to the crux, do you believe that political parties are really writing the scripts? What, from what you've heard, tells you that?
Well, let me first start with the written submissions. You get written submissions from every forum, 51,000 of them, and all of them are pretty much the same. You go to public hearings, and very many people regurgitate the same thing, and I don't have a problem with it. All I am educating people on is that this is not a referendum, so it doesn't matter how many times you repeat it. It's about the content of the argument. So if 10 people say the same thing, doesn't carry more weight than one person saying something differently. So I don't have a problem with people mobilizing, with people scripting. All I'm saying is that it doesn't enrich the debate when we get to Parliament.
So basically one argument repeated 1,000 times is not going to make any different point?
Absolutely. It's not going to make a different point, and it'll be regarded as one argument. No different to somebody else that comes and just a individual putting a different argument. And that's all that I've been trying to indicate, that it's not about numbers, it's about the strength of the argument.
Okay, besides this issue of numbers and people repeating the same argument many times, how, in your view, so far have these hearings been going?
They've been going exceptionally well, Dan. We've been oversubscribed every time we went. We anticipated 300 people. We've got more than 1,000 people. In the group that I lead, we've had now up to date 11 submissions. Probably 11,000 people have come. And by the end of the proceedings, we would have done 31 submissions. There'll probably be about 31,000 people who have come to the submissions. I think South Africans are very keen to have their voices heard.
Are you bothered at all by the presence of political figures at some of these hearings? Do you find it necessary for them to be there because people become more emotive and maybe try to get distracted from the actual issue when they see that there's a particular politician who does not share the same point of view, and then it becomes an attack? Or do you think that they're necessary at those protests?
Well,
at those hearings, sorry. Yeah.
We have asked all formations, political, social, religious, to mobilize their constituencies so that South Africans' voices can be heard. I don't think it will be fair, therefore, to exclude them from the hearings. I want to repeat, slogans are not going to assist in this process. It's about the strength of your argument. So everybody could be there and everybody could go and share their views.
Now, the whole issue has been whether or not Section 25 should be amended. I mean, that was the bill that, that was the discussion in Parliament, and that's why you were set up to review that process. The inputs that are being made, are they speaking to the issue, or are they speaking generally to land reform challenges in South Africa?
They're speaking to that issue as well. Very many of them speak to that issue. I mean, everybody starts by saying, we want it to be changed, and these are my reasons. And then after that, they would raise issues of life experiences, of their claims and so on. But very many people are speaking about why it must be changed and also why it shouldn't be changed. So yes, people are answering the question directly.
Are they using, are they using legally sound arguments, or are they using arguments based on giving us back our dignity, which we keep on hearing people saying the land question is linked to our dignity? Many
people that are arguing for the amendments are talking about restoring dignity. They're talking about not wanting to be foreigners in the country of their birth. Many people that are arguing against it are arguing the legal points that you're talking about, and they're also arguing the potential damage that it would cause to the economy and to food security. And of course, both arguments will be weighed up at the end of the day.
Are you seeing the sort of racial divide, the racial lines clearly marked? Because at the end of the day, what we're seeing, where we're seeing a majority, we see it's black versus white. You see it. You see those who are making their submissions. Or have you seen also, Vincent, that there's been some sort of understanding from either side in certain places, maybe in all of them? There are some groups that sort of fall on the other side saying, we understand how you feel, but, you know, has there been empathy in this process for one another or for each side?
In the main, it's divided along racial lines, which is unfortunate. but it's not exclusive. We've had very many black people saying, I too don't believe the Constitution needs to be amended, or I have benefited, or I have been a victim of expropriation as black people. But by and large, very many white people would argue against expropriation. Very many black people would argue for expropriation. I was hoping that this would heal the nation, but I must be brutally frank with you, it hasn't been that way up to now. And I can understand why, because those that have the land have by and large been white. Those that need their dignity restored is black. But I think it is a necessary exercise that South Africans have to go through.
Okay, what's next? Last night or yesterday you were in the Northwest in Rustenburg. We've been running a story about discussions there. What are the next steps and how close are you to wrapping up your consultation process?
Well, we've split up into two groups. My group comes to Gauteng next week, and then we join each other. We join together in Western Cape the week thereafter, and that will take us around about the 4th of August. And we have done all the visits to provinces. Then from the 7th to the 17th of August, we will go to the over 500,000 written submissions that are waiting for us in Cape Town and process those. And after the 17th, the committee will sit and then put our heads together to come up with a recommendation that must be submitted to Parliament by the 28th of September with a recommendation as to whether the Constitution should be amended, and if so, how, or whether the Constitution shouldn't be amended. And that will be informed by and large by what the people have said to us, both in our visits to the provinces and in our written submissions.
Now, that parliamentary process, that last step, does it involve a debate? When you present your report in Parliament, it will be at the National Assembly, open session, or is it through your committee sitting down and discussing with the various clusters?
The committee will sit down and have their political debates as usual. And once we're done and we've adopted the report, whether it's adopted unanimously or there are divisions, we will take it to the House and there will be a public debate in the House before it is adopted. So there's still a lot of work to be done, lots of discussions, political parties at that point will give their views. Up to now, we're just listening.
And just for those, the naysayers, Vincent, who say this is just politicking on the part of the ANC, that we don't know that this process is actually going to come to anything, just your final word to them.
It's going to come to something. It's about the dignity of South Africans. It's not about politics. It's really about stability of our country. And if we don't get it right, all of us will suffer. So it's not an ANC thing, it's not an EFF thing, it's a South African thing.